Mavic 3, brand new update. Got that coming up next. Bill, the drone reviewer here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The other night I hosted Rotor Talk Live, and I was joined for part of the show by Mr. Marcus Crawford and Mr. Ron. For the better part of the show, we discussed a brand new update regarding the DJI Mavic 3. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. As you guys are, I know, are aware, there have been some, let's call them detailed renderings.
Bill, did you leak those photos this morning?
I'm under DNA, okay. I don't want this to get out here. Now, it's interesting because what really, when you see these wild and exotic, renderings, you kind of know that it's like, it's not really the real deal kind of thing. All right. When you see renderings like you see right here, okay, this makes a whole lot of sense. All right.
It does really bring to life rather than those, you said artistic drawings.
And, the other thing is, and somebody pointed this out, that the arms look a little thinner than on the Mavic 2 series.
Okay? And they look a little longer too, Bill.
Yeah, and they do look longer as too, Ron. I agree. And it really kind of fits in line with everything that we've seen. Now, when you start to get more leaks, and you guys know this too, I'm preaching to the choir, when you start to see more of this come out, okay, things are starting to ramp up. I mean, there's been a lot of signs and indications lately, especially, you can't really, it's hard to buy a Mavic 2 Pro right now or Zoom. All right. DJI's website. Yeah,
as far as we know, they're discontinued from DJI.
Yeah. And, even on Amazon have a hard time, or on eBay. I mean, it's really getting to be slim pickings if you're wanting to buy a Mavic 2 Pro or Zoom right now, because it's just not, they're just not out there. They're just not available. Okay. This was done by let's see. The latest images initially popped up on WeChat, one of the more popular Chinese social media networks. They were distributed on Twitter by Deal's drone account. Okay, and you can see them here. The proportions seem to be out. The arms are thinner than we'd expect. Other aspects, such as rear loading battery, are in line with previous images that we've seen. Okay. We have a source in China with his finger close to the pulse of the project. We ran the WeChat images past him. He says he knows the person who created them. The camera module portion, which is what will likely interest most people, is very accurate. Here's an excerpt from our texting today. The camera module is correct. That's what I was wondering about more than anything. So will be a zoom included? He said yes. The camera will be made by Hasselblad. Well, there's no continuing. I still stand on my original point about the October-November release. The design of the Mavic 3 has been finalized. Okay, so this is a lot of information. Go ahead, Marcus.
Hey, Bill, before you go any further, you just made me think about one thing, and I want to acknowledge the fact that, you know what? You were talking about the Mavic 2 Pro, Zoom and Pro, both, and that they were discontinuing them. Let me tell you, that is going to be a drone that is going to be iconic because it had such a long run and was the top of the game for 3 years, and you might even still be able to argue that in many cases it's the top of the game. And man, kudos to DJI for an awesome drone. I mean, that thing really held its own for a long time. And my question to both you and Ron is, can we expect the same thing out of this Mavic 3?
Well, Marcus, you make a great point about the Mavic 2 Pro and the Zoom and their long runs at the top. But Bill, is this unprecedented? Like, has any of the drones stayed like on top as long as the Mavic 2 did, or the Mavic 2 Pro, or however you want to say it?
Well, arguably, the Phantom 4 Pro has kind of held
Yep.
A pretty good reign on things. And it's still, especially with that manual shutter, because
right, but not having OcuSync 2, having the older Lightbridge system, kind of for some people. not all people, but some people, that takes it out of the equation.
Right.
Don't have the,
Right. And then,
don't have the
and then they
connection.
did the V2 version, which I got, which had the OcuSync 2.0, which really kind of made it a little bit more of a beefier drone. But your point and Marcus's point is spot on. You know, it's really been kind of like almost, if you want to use the term, king of the hill for 3 years. And it's rarely had any challengers. I would say a good challenger to it has been the Evo 2, and you've proven that with some of your videos and photos, Ron. That Evo 2 6K is phenomenal. I mean, it really does a great job. It does it very well.
Right. And now I don't want to be accused of being a DJI fanboy, and Autel does challenge them as far as camera quality, but they don't challenge them as far as having, you know, all the quick shots and features and autonomous type of stuff. It's still more bells and whistles in the Mavic 2 series than there is the Autel Evo 2 series. And I would have gave Autel Evo a break for a year or so, but now we're a year and a half in, and it still hasn't got the feature set that the Mavic 2 has.
Hey, Ron, so I'd love to hear your opinion of the flight controls, because, you know, we've heard a lot of other big reviewers say that one of the things they complain about on the Autel drone is they prefer the DJI flight controls. You fly them both all the time. I mean, I know they're different, but how do you feel about it?
And I'm not as good a person, I guess, to answer this question in one way, because a lot of people that say this fly almost exclusive DJI. And I think that's why that comment's come from, where Marcus, you and I both, we fly almost all the different branded drones and whatever. So I don't get locked into only, you know, getting used to just how the DJI drones fly. And also, a lot of these early complaints were from people from when they first got the Autel Evo 2 Pro. And of course, it's been refined with firmware updates over the time, even as far as flight controls and things like that. So, you know, for me, when I pick up the Evo 2 to go fly, I don't think I'm held back in any way from getting the shot I want from because it has any kind of flight
deficit or something.
Yeah, limitations. I don't feel limited by it. You know, but again, I'm not a, you know, I'm not a dyed-in-the-wool DJI person that only flies DJI drones, and the Evo 2 is my first non-DJI drone. You know, if you don't worry that if you get the Evo 2, it's not going to be the Scudio or something like that, where it's, you know, that's legit. When people say the Scudio doesn't fly like a DJI drone, that's legit.
Right.
Here's a question for both of you. Okay, you know,
we never answered Marcus's question.
Well, that's true.
Well, Marcus, what was the? I mean, I don't feel like the congressman again. You know, can you repeat the question part of your statement earlier?
Well, I mean, I just was asking about the flight controls.
Well, before that, you asked the question. I went into this big rant about the
Mavic 3,
about the Mavic 2 being on top for such a long time. I asked Bill, is there any other drone that could rival? But you threw a question in there too, as well as making a statement about the Mavic 2 being on top for so long.
Ron, let me rewind the video and Hey, that said, well, Bill, you had a question, but
yeah, go ahead. I thought we answered, but yeah, I interrupted him or whatever. I threw the train off the tracks, and we forgot that question. Maybe it'll come back to us. But
all right. Well, here's my question for you guys: is this okay? Now we've been talking like, you know, the Mini 3 is going to come out in November and all this stuff. Okay, now, you know, getting this news that we got today with some of these messages, you know, it indicates possibly we're not going to have a Mini 3. We're going to have a Mavic 3. I mean, do you guys think this is going to happen, or you think it's more a Mini 3 or what?
Lauren, can you tell us?
Lauren's under DNA. Don't get that man in trouble.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, who the heck knows?
Yeah.
I'll be thrilled to death with either one of them, Bill.
Oh, I will too.
Yeah.
You know,
let me answer Bill's question. You know, with a kind of a second question. Do I think it can happen? Yeah, it can happen. I don't know. Other companies have released big products back to back, and even DJI in the same couple, and within the span of, I'm going to say, the fall of 2000 whatever, they released the Phantom 4 Pro, and the Mavic 1 and the Mavic Pro came out in the course of just a few, I'm going to say in the course of 2 or 3 months. Both of those flagship products dropped, and other companies done the same thing. But here's the bigger question, Bill. It can happen, but the bigger question is, if you get the Mini 3 and the Mavic 3 come out in the same time span, in a month or two or whatever, will you shell the money out for both of them, or will you just pick one of them and concentrate on that one?
There you go. I mean, it's like how many piggy banks can you break open? Okay, to do that.
How many drones can you review at the same time? Like I feel, for instance, if I got them both, and I took the Mavic 3 and the Mini 3, that every time I took the Mini 3 out, it would be like a pain in the butt saying, oh man, in the middle of doing these great reviews of the Mavic 3, I got to go out and fly this thing that doesn't have this, that, or the other, or whatever. So, did I drive Marcus away?
I don't know. You maybe he flew the coop here. Okay,
he's under DNA. He couldn't talk about that.
He's probably under. Yeah, he probably is under DNA.
Beyond the point of having all the money to buy this stuff, the point is, do you really need 2 new drones at almost the same time?
Well, that's a good question, and it's like, and you bring up, while it's humorous and it really is, what do you review first? The Mini 3 the Mini 3 will be a Mini 2's been a runaway hit. Okay. Yes. And I look at it in terms of my group popularity. Okay.
Right.
And it's pretty close to the Mavic 2 group in terms of the number of people that are on it. It's like 12, 13, 14,000 people in both of those groups. So, I mean, they're both popular. They're going to both be popular drones. It's like, review one day, review the other. I mean, it'll keep you busy. That's for sure.
If you do get both or whatever. And you make a good point. More of your subscribers will buy the Mini 3 than they will the Mavic 3, but the Mavic 3 will be the product that you're going to be more enthusiastic about kind of flying and delving into, because if it has the specs that we read off last week, I mean, it'll be the drone of drones. It'll be your go-to, right, Bill? I mean,
absolutely.
If I call you up and say, let's go down to Remington Beach and catch that sunset down there, you're not going to bring the Mini 3 with you. You're going to bring the Mavic 3, right?
Yeah. I mean, and that's a good point, Ron. And what I want to focus on here, okay, it's been 3 years since we've had a new Mavic Pro, okay, if you will. All right. It's only been a year since we've had a new Mini. All right. And, the jump that they'll have in technology from the Mini 2 to the Mini 3, it'll be appreciable, but it won't be as great a jump as the Mavic 2 to the Mavic 3.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And that jump, you can recognize that big jump more than you can the incremental update that the Mini 3 will probably be over the Mini 2.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the other thing, and I try to talk about this with people, about preparing them for sticker shock and why it's going to be sticker shock. I'm a firm believer, okay, with this Mavic 3, it's not going to have a standard controller. It's going to come with a smart controller standard. I mean, there's going to be no option for the regular analog type controller anymore. It's going to be a smart controller. That's it. And that's why, you're going to have a 2K or more kind of price tag on this. It's going to be, that's going to be one of the reasons.
True. And to your point, most people that bought a smart controller version 1, time it only flew one drone or whatever, but most of the people who bought the smart controller 1 also had a Mavic 2. Well, it had to be, but it tended to see that anybody has a smart controller probably has a Mavic 2.
Question of the day. What do you think of the brand new update regarding the DJI Mavic 3? Let me know in the comments section below. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, it's a great day to fly.